We're living in an amazing time of rapid change, as in several pivotal times in history, the convergence of new technologies are allowing innovators to introduce novel, yet simple-to-use solutions to age-old real-world problems across all industries. Venture capital and VC-backed startups are some of the most popular models of entrepreneurship. Investor-backed unicorns usually dominate the press. 20-year-olds raising $100 million in the Bay Area for a tech company. And let's not neglect the excitement and impact of emerging markets raising an aggregate of multi-billions in 2021 alone. While venture capital is an important and fascinating input to entrepreneurship in general and to growth entrepreneurship in particular, the roles investors play and the pressure founders undergo is a lot different from what we generally assume. Welcome to the Hue Seth Show, where we explore the enticing world of venture capital and its global impact as we carefully curate insights from thought leaders and luminaries globally. Hey everyone, welcome back. Now we have Jay joining us today. For those who are tuning in, so you're aware, we're going to be discussing India. We're going to be discussing the various ecosystems with startup ecosystems in India and what's going on there. And I'm most certainly super excited because look, I like many who are tuning in right now from whatever parts of the world may not know the various nuances or things going on in India right now. And India is a major player. And as time progresses, by 2050, is going to be like one of the biggest economies for sure. And even right now, we see it on pace. I think India right now is third or second population in the world. So this is not a space that we just want to overlook. And being that the Hue Seth Show here is a global platform, it's very important that we bring on experts in the Indian ecosystem to really teach us as we're growing. So, Jay, thank you for joining us today. Pleasure having you on the show.
Hey, thank you so much for having me here.
Now, Jay, let's start with the basics, right? Who's Jay? What's Jay working on? What's happening in your world? Please share with us some things happening, and then from there we can dive into our conversation.
Very nice. Fascinating question. Nobody's asked me ever, who's Jay? Like, people always ask me, what do you do? What do you think? What are you about? What do you stand for? Nobody ever asked who's Jay. Very deep question, I would say. I'll try to answer some of those. Who's Jay is a very deep meaning. These days, Jay is a guy who believes in giving and sharing and looking out for those around, equally or less fortunate than me, and also believes in newer things, adapting to changes which happen very fast in my life. Some of them I have brought upon myself by jumping into a sea of entrepreneurship, the startup world, as we say it. All of that started a long time back, the seeds of which were sown probably as a child, seeing things happening around, seeing the value of business build up, seeing some businesses around in my family and neighborhood, the impact of seeing everything around you. So plus some opportunities in my childhood which my parents pursued at a smaller level, like a small home business. All of those took ground, and 2 years back I moved out of my banking and fintech role to take a plunge into entrepreneurship full time. I was trying some things on the sides, and that's where I realized that serious things require serious attention. And if you want to build out yourself along with the business, then you have to pay attention to it. So that's how things came about. And in the intervening period, till date, I have tried out multiple things from, Web3 to trying to sell get into military gear. In fact, I was almost on the verge of closing a deal for drones, for what we call today as drone entertainment or drone shows. So, visual and civilian uses of drones, organic vegetables, all of those kept on failing one after the other for various reasons. And I kept on moving on. I said, okay, fair enough, let's try another one. None of the attempts were half-hearted. All of them at the point in time were done with my best ability, which I had then. Of course, in hindsight, one can always say, "Oh, I could have done that better. Oh, I could have pursued it a bit more. I would have found better partners, etc." So all of that, and plus, I was fortunate to work with very progressive organizations, which allowed me to use, and not only me, every other person was afforded that opportunity to explore their best talents within the organization. So being within the banking circle was never a constraint in your thought process or the ability to execute anything besides banking. You would be surprised, like 10 years, around 12 years back, in fact, we were working on something called television commerce. Imagine flipping a remote and then buying something right off the TV set. So we were like way advanced in our thinking, and we were adopting mobile banking way back then. That was India for you, like in 2009-10, when we had Java phones and people were still using Nokias, and iPhones were just getting around in India then. There were a couple of startups here and there, and few of the fintechs were just getting born, and people were trying to recognize what they do. There wasn't a term called fintech. A few of us who were close to the startup world by nature of their profession, they knew what a startup meant and what is funding and what is VC. So it was all very new. All of that culminated in me being here today, speaking with you. I keep reading a lot. I keep interacting a lot. I speak to a lot of youngsters, including pre-teenagers and people much older to me who are trying to strike out on their own, do something with their lives beyond their normal day-to-day jobs. So that has given me a inside view, and I definitely do not claim to be an expert. I'm just a keen observer. That's all I am.
There's a couple things that I took from what you just shared with us here, and one of those is just the consistency that is required to be an entrepreneur. Dusting off your shoulders, continue to work on new projects, even if the first one failed. It's really a journey, and it shows a mindset of who you are. There's when we initially spoke, you mentioned how you're still in school. So you went back to school, and I heard, I'm like, wow, this desire to learn and continue to grow is something to really pay attention to. Now you mix that with the tenacity to just continue in business, even if things are not working out, just shows another side of you there, even though you've had success along the way as well. But I just love when successful founders or entrepreneurs or those who made it in corporate world shares their failures as well, because sometimes we just think that, hey, this person just got to where they are, out of thin air. But now with that, I want you to cover a little bit on Village Affair. You're currently working on a new business, right? Luxury food in India. How did that come about? Like, what sparked that idea? And you shared how also that you're building this business gradually, and you're bootstrapping it along the way. But I want you to share a little bit of insights on Village Affair for us.
So, as the name says, Village Affair, we want to be, a brand where people understand us as someone who believes in the power of tradition. That is something which we genuinely believe in as founders. The idea germinated last year somewhere about when we were talking about what to do, after a series of failures, and the world as it is, half of it had collapsed. We were trying to figure out what to do, and this thing came about because we were, as a family, into let's say health aware eating, and over years of bad lifestyle, I would call it. We had a choice of either changing it or continuing on the same path, and which would lead to an eventual disaster. We changed, my family changed, and we realized the benefits of it. We realized the importance of that change and the value of being discovered at the right time. So, somebody, as you began this conversation by saying, somebody always guides, and you are always on somebody's shoulders, somebody big enough. So, we were also guided on this path, and we realized that we have gained, and we wanted to spread the cheer, so to say. And that's where we started off with this. We are into currently food products which are mostly sourced from local either artisans or made in smaller quantities in a non-industrial way, which are non-additive, no preservative, as far as we can deliver in a safe to consume way. And we have started the way with key food ingredients which go in food, which is the cooking oil. So the cooking medium itself is the largest cause of disease, which are lifestyle based diseases like cholesterol and diabetes, etc. So that's where we have started from, and it's a type of oil that we have in India. It's made from cow milk. It's called ghee, uh, and it has immense benefits owing to the native breed of cows that we source the product from. We'll soon be adding oils and different types of food additive powders. So we call them sprinklers. So if you are living in a fast-paced city and you want to have the same taste as your childhood or as your tradition, you can add those. And gradually this will expand into other food categories. So the intent is to provide good, clean food, and the way to reach to your heart is through the tradition, and that's why the tradition plays an
Yes.
important role in getting the message across.
Man, we haven't even started diving into the startup ecosystem yet, and I'm learning an oil made from cow milk. I never thought that was a thing. Thank you for sharing that. I'm not sure if I'm the only one here who's oblivious to this, but I'm definitely now hearing about ghee. And the funny thing
Yeah.
is, I order Indian food all the time, man. I'm always ordering. I'm always, I'm always ordering Indian food here. Going to Indian Palace. There's a couple Indian Palace where I stay. And they have a bunch of Indian food and stuff like that. And I think Indian food is kind of similar to African food, and so I really love Indian food. And
Yeah, yeah.
so yeah, so that's very interesting. Now, okay, now we're here to discuss the startup ecosystem in India, right? As far as my understanding right now, I only understand, Bangalore, right? Bangalore is like the Silicon Valley of India. You have that's where the IT center and everything like that, right? And then you have Mumbai, which is the financial capital in India, right? And you're a finance guy, so I'm sure at some point you were in Mumbai yourself, but I'm not sure about all the other parts, right? And I'm very intrigued to learn more. So if you could just and obviously given the time that we have, we can only cover this conversation from a high level on a more macro basis versus the micro nuances. But if you could just give us some insights on the various ecosystems, what's going on there, what can we expect from these various ecosystems, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, I'll try to share what I have observed a bit. So, what's happening right now is there are obviously a lot of inspiration which has been drawn from the West, particularly Silicon Valley. Everybody around the world, I think, is fan of that model. So a lot of companies, including startups of various sizes and shapes, have come up across fintech, edtech, even agritech. A lot of startups in the agritech space are hot right now. One of them is like Krishify. They are like the social networking app for farmers. So farming community across the country, they were divided. They had no place where they could, integrate and talk to each other about farming issues. And India being as vast as probably any other continent that you have, language, climate, water conditions, weather, everything is different. Uh, but the unifying theme is farmers here are hardworking as farmers everywhere else. They may have lesser access to tools, equipment, technology. This startup does that. It provides them, and it recently got funded. They're doing pretty well. I think they are right now above 10 million odd farmers on their platform. So imagine what all that can do to transform the lives of those farmers. And it's not just about chit chatting or posting videos. I checked out the platform myself. I was intrigued, and it turns out that they are doing commerce. They are helping people sell goods to each other and create a common market. So if you want something, for example, if I'm looking for a certain kind of cattle farmer or dairy farmer, I can reach out through that app and get stuff that I need. People are selling farm equipments, used farm equipments for cheap. So that other farmers can benefit from it. They're helping each other out and setting up small farm-based businesses and like food processing, you know, setting up small equipments within the farm premises. So that's just one startup impacting the life of 10 million farmers in a poor country where we haven't even reached 5,000 USD per capita. It's immense. The impact would be humongous in 10, 15, 20 years. And a lot of it is leapfrogging. Why I chose to give this specific example is mobile penetration in the last 4 or 5 years has dramatically changed with the arrival of a new telecom player and the drop of prices of broadband. India right now has the cheapest broadband and one of the cheapest places where we can buy a mobile phone, a smartphone. Just 5 years back, people were guessing that maybe by 2035 we'll have 25-30% penetration. As of now, we are probably at around three-fourths, internet penetration in the country at broadband we are talking about, almost. There's almost universal mobile phone penetration. Like anybody, even the lowest workers have a mobile phone in hand. That makes India not only a huge market, but also a big producer. So everybody in the hands, in whose hands there is a mobile phone, it has become a content creator. There were content creators on TikTok who literally cried when TikTok was shut down, but they learned to move on to other platforms. That's the power of one single device and one single innovation on one app. Uh, in a lot of countries, a phone and an app would be for entertainment only. It appears so to the casual eye that they are just watching casual random videos. But no, you ask someone, there are carpenters who run their own business on WhatsApp. They have made their own websites, and these are people who earn just a few dollars a day. So they have learned to adopt technology, and in the next 5 years, these are the guys who are going to benefit most from the adoption of technology. We were always using computers and laptops and had access to mobile. Our lives have become more convenient. So when you say, what's the scene like? This is the scene like. So here we talk about two Indias. One is who is you, maybe me. I probably belong to the top 0.1 or 1 percentile of the country by way of access to conveniences and all the latest tech gadgets, etc. But technology has been a great leveler. Like anybody sitting outside, maybe even a taxi driver now, everybody knows how to use an Uber. They now know how. Oh, and along with Uber, there's Ola uh, for ride hailing, and then there are others who have come up. So technology is moving so fast around here, and newer startups and products are coming out that the pace of innovation is struggling to keep match. And I'm not exaggerating. People are demanding things now. People, you go on, India Twitter, as we call it, and people are putting out problems every day. And these are young chaps, like just out of college, still in college. Some of them are still studying in school. And those are the fellows who are posing out problems saying, oh, why isn't this being solved? Why isn't that problem being solved? I have never seen that happening ever, like literally ever. Like we were always talking about problems. My generation, and I'm like above 40, and I know everybody above me was of a different generation altogether. They had given up hope that nothing can be done. My generation is still struggling in between. So we are the ones building the bridge. The other guys are running on those bridges, and these are the guys who are saying, "Hey, there seems to be something new, and we can do a lot more." So from someone who was just asking questions about problems to guys who are saying, "Why is this isn't being solved?" to now those guys going ahead and solving it. There's a dramatic transition. This has happened in the last 10 years.
You know what I really appreciate about India is, and I kind of spoke on this earlier in regards to you, but I think that you are a reflection of the country itself, right? And what I mean by that is this mindset of how important and valuable education is, and even more to be more specific in regards to technology, right, and the future. As you said, the younger people are thinking of the future. They're not just thinking about now, nor are they thinking of the obstacles, right? They're looking at this glass, and rather than saying, I think that glass is half empty, or I think that glass is half full, they're looking at the entire glass and they're saying, here are the potentials within the glass, right? So they're literally looking at it from a completely different perspective than how previous generations may have looked at it. Maybe, and we know that there's a such thing as the caste system in India, right? And if you're whatever you fall in, the caste system may impact your mindset as to whether you can participate in the future or not. But it seems like even with that system, from what I'm hearing from you, all persons are looking at the glass and saying, well, what are the potentials in this glass? And all persons are even participating in the creation of the future. And I really appreciate that, because there's a culture of education. There's a culture of magnifying and pedestalizing those who are thinking of the future, who are well educated, who are looking to create. Not every culture in the world pedestalizes the intellectuals, but the cultures that pedestalize the intellectuals, I found they're doing really well, and I can only imagine what's going to happen down the road. But again, we're discussing the various tech ecosystems, so please take. I just wanted to throw that my 2 cents in there real quick from just some things that you've shared.
Yeah, absolutely. You summarized it well, and technology and access to technology, as well as new access to capital, which was one of the limiting factors in broader adoption of technology and utilizing technology to do more, that has become more widely acceptable. About 10, 12 odd years back, you would have hardly two, three, VCs, institutional money, as people would call it. Sikoa was around, and Kalari was around. IDG was there, and some others. But these guys were meant for like the real big folks. And an average startup Joe just couldn't go approach them and raise funds. You had to be somebody, referred by somebody, probably have much more validation of business than what is being asked today. So things have eased out a lot, and because of access to technology, knowledge, as well as capital, and as you mentioned, specific focus on intellectual capital that India has and has always been part of our civilization. Um, the only thing lacking was capital, which is now getting much better. So that will go on, and that has supported a lot of young founders, irrespective of where they come from, which state, which region, which color. Those things, a lot of those things don't exist in India. So to say, there could be other barriers to growth which are unique to the country, but otherwise today I don't see any barrier to growth except your own self. If you are capable and if you want to, nobody can stop you here. I have seen kids as young as 15 go ahead and raise capital. In fact, there is a unicorn by the name Zepto. Their founders are college dropouts, and they are still in their teens. In fact, they were in US for their studies while they were running a company in India. They are a hyperlocal company, and they suddenly became like people thought they became overnight success. But then when you read up about them, you figure out that they were doing this for the last 1.5, 2 years, and it was the grind which gave them the confidence that they can actually execute this much better than anyone else. And there were already players who were doing hyperlocal in India. But imagine two teens who haven't finished their graduation, choosing to drop out one of the top colleges of the world, and then jumping into the startup ecosystem. This was unimaginable 10 years back. Unimaginable. I mean, the parents would be going crazy. Like, if I would do something like that, my middle class parents would say, you have lost your mind. We spent all that money. And that's the first thing that every parent would go through, right?
Right.
This guy is either high, somebody's misled them, most likely, and there's something we have in India about, your company and all. The company you keep is the kind of person you become. So the first
Right.
finger is somebody must have misled my poor boy. That's what most parents think. But, imagine that somebody else now also has validation into teenagers and say, yeah, I'm putting my
Yeah.
$100 million, man. That's a lot of money. And I believe in these guys. And that's how they're building, and they're building it successfully. And they're not alone. And there's stories of dozens of boys and girls from small towns who are building things from, there's an startup called Jar. So they basically take loose change and invest into gold, right? They raised about 22 million in India, and they're valued at about a third of $1 billion right now, and they are doing pretty well. Again, things like these were unimaginable 2, 3 years back. There's another startup called Cloud Tailor. These folks are, getting aggregating, clothing tailors, which are still a reality in India. So you have local neighborhood tailors who would stitch up your clothes. These guys are doing some specialty work for women. So, for their dresses and, Indian traditional wear and Western modern wear, etc. And even in D2C space now, there's a pet startup called Goofy Tales. They just raised about 500,000 seed. For a pet company to raise money, I mean, I'm not joking, but even 5 years back would have been led to a lot of laughter that I do. Like, it's just not possible. But things are changing. Youngsters, the choice of youngsters, Gen Z is, out of the Gen X is totally out. It's all millennials are out. People are calling them information kids or info age kids. And I don't know what exactly the classification is right now, but they are defining the next game. We have startups in the electric space. There's one called Yulu. It makes electric bikes. So I used them when I came to Bangalore, and they're like, you scan your, a code on the bike, and it's an electric bicycle, and you ride along and you drop it wherever you can. How convenient. Again, these things exist. A lot of these things exist in Bangalore. And the second startup hub is Gurgaon in India. These two are primarily leading the startup charge, staying focused with Bangalore. The weather is conducive for a lot of young folks. You can keep running around half day, not get tired. It's not very hot. It's not very cold. And of course the IT and other ecosystems were around. So there's a lot of tech availability, which is the key talent in software-based startups. And almost every startup has a software need today. Even when I'm doing my food startup or any other business, you need a website, you need an app, you need support, backend systems, logistics, warehousing management systems. So everything is software. So you can't just do without software. So that is why the city is progressing, and so is Gurgaon. Um, I think, would want to know about other cities as well. So Mumbai is there. It's more of a traditional conservative financial hub where most of the older generation of organizations had taken root. The newer fintech ones are being established mostly out of Bangalore, again, mostly because of the tech availability. Um, Otherwise, there are few based out of Mumbai as well. Zerodha, which is one of the bootstrapped unicorns, if you would believe it. It's a bootstrapped unicorn. It's a free financial platform for stock brokerage. So you can trade on that platform, and they charge. It started free. Now they charge very small fee. Even now, I
And
think
you said that's
free.
called again? What's the name of that?
Zerodha. Zerodha. Their founders are from this state, and they are settled in Mumbai. And of course, because they were equity market related, which is still a hub in Mumbai, as we call it now, is because all the stock exchanges are there. So that business had to be there. So some of the businesses which have key relation to banking are still based out of there. They might be registered. Their head office is still in Mumbai, but the tech team sits out of either Bangalore, we call it now, and Gurugram. There are then other smaller hubs. So Hyderabad has a very active startup ecosystem. They have an incubation cell. Each of the state governments and the city governments provide a lot of support in terms of knowledge, funding, um, technical, support, bringing you to the market, even getting you customers. So a lot of support is provided, giving subsidies by way of taxation benefits, trying to get everything on a single window platform. A lot of rules were, changed and simplified for startups in the last 7-8 years, I would say, and that has helped the startup ecosystem a lot. As you would know, everywhere along the way, most rules everywhere in the world were written like probably a century ago, and people are still trying
Right.
to navigate those, right? So that's how things are moving around the startup scene in India, especially around these cities. Chennai also has an active ecosystem. Some of the older cities have not been very active, but I think that follows the movement of the population. So, a very vibrant, active migrant population, and migrants like you and me, we are always hungry to do more, to learn more. We are open to experimentation. We are open to adaptation. And that's wherever we move, the innovation moves. So Bangalore is a hub of migrants from all over the country, and in every sense of the word, it represents India. So Bangalore is to every Bangalorean what India is to every Indian.
Okay, so let's continue on this path of Bangalore, right? The Silicon Valley of India, which would make sense of it being a melting pot, right? I hope to visit Bangalore someday. But now, as we're talking about expats, foreigners or what have you, looking into India, market makers, investors, whatnot. Let's say, for instance, a founder they have this amazing idea, they love it in India, they see the opportunity, and they want to start a business there. They want to erect a startup in India. My question for you, how would someone like that go about achieving this task?
I think Google is our best friend there. Uh, no kidding. Google provides actually a lot of information around how to set up company in India. To simplify, I'll just summarize. It's as easy or as difficult as is anywhere else, depending on how you look. I believe entrepreneurs always like to see things as easy rather than difficult. And that's the
Right.
basic job. And the first job is to declutter whatever excess information you're getting and say, oh, this is all very easy, big deal.
Right.
Surprisingly, you called, before I answer this, you called India the Silicon Valley, Bangalore the Silicon Valley of India or of the East. Bangalore is actually on a plateau. We are not even a valley. So it's just a metaphor, though. We accept it with all humility and responsibility, and that's why
Right.
Bangalore continues to outshine every other startup hub around in South Asia, or even dare I say Southeast Asia, including Singapore and Hong Kong. Though a lot of companies may be registered there for some operational and other reasons, but otherwise, energy level in Bangalore is incredible through the roof. You must come here.
Would you
Getting
agree though that Bangalore, and I know you're Mr. Humble, but would you agree that Bangalore is the information technology hub, I think, of the world, or even in Asia, right? If I'm not mistaken, I think is number one in IT. Or am I wrong?
Yeah, globally, it has to be. There is no other city, so to say, which can compete with Bangalore that way.
Yeah, yeah,
So
okay.
it is.
Yeah,
It's
okay.
been
But
around like that for the last 10, 20 years, probably.
yeah, that's what I thought.
Oh,
Okay.
any company globally, you see Accenture, IBM, Infosys, TCS. Now, TCS is one of the largest companies in the world globally.
Yeah, okay, okay.
Not only in terms of valuations, but number of employees, not only in India, but overseas. Infosys is one of the largest recruiters in IT in US, and so is
Yes. I'm
TCS.
aware of that. Yes, I'm aware of
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah. So, yeah, I think we can safely claim that. No one can dispute that.
I'm just, I have to verify, I have to validate these claims. So I thought I'd ask you real quick. But
Yeah,
now you said that the best place to be, okay, Google. But okay, now just asking
I'll
someone
tell you
who's
in
familiar
brief.
with the space, right? If
Yeah,
you could just give us a high level.
to set up in India, I would say first of all to any founder, study the market before you get into the legality and setup of the actual company, which are operational things which you can get somebody to do for you. Study the market, understand the set of consumers. Um, it is a it is not a homologous mass of people. It is a very, very diverse market. Every state, city is different. Food habits, how people think, how they behave, what they buy, how they use things. The same set of headphones, the same set of phone, the same app is used differently everywhere. In Bangalore, you have a Google Pay which works. It's a scan-based payment app. If you go up north in Gurgaon, there's Paytm which works more. It could be because they were based here, somebody was based here, and then in some third of the city, you have something else. If you and somebody was narrating a tale, you go to Mumbai and people don't want to take scan-based payments. Those QR-based payments. So they're comfortable with cash still. I tend to disagree, but that's what I heard somebody say. So everyone's perception of the market and is very different. So I would say study the market well. Come spend some time with your customers, and this applies to everyone. Uh, More so for somebody who's looking to start something here. Uh, People have failed trying to copy paste the template from abroad, including some of the biggest giants in tech space and otherwise, even in hardware. People have failed. Study the behavior very closely. And then there are organizations, there are legal firms who would allow you and help you getting your company incorporated here. There are several legal structures like private limited. You could even have an LLP. There are provisions of doing a project office or a corporate, what do you call, a branch office of an overseas setup if you already have. So some companies incorporate in Singapore and then they have a subsidiary in India. So there are various means of getting legally set up in India. Product wise, is that's my only recommendation. Tech talent is hugely available, and it is no more cheap. Don't think India is cheap. The talent here is top class. It's world class. Uh, in fact, in Web3, I would say Indian talent competes with the top talent of the world. If you would know, Polygon is a massive Web3 crypto as well as a chain. Um its founders are Indian. It's founded right here in this city, and it's one of the largest, along with Bitcoin. And I would say 5 years back, what Ripple was today, that's Polygon. So there's a lot of heat in Web3 as well. A lot of startups. Just yesterday, another startup got Pillow. They're like a small mutual fund investing in cryptos. They got massive funding, and these are all young chaps. They were just experimenting till last year, and suddenly you see them understanding the problem even more better. And so that is one space where I think foreigners can definitely add value, which is Web3, which is a global theme. It cuts across uh, cultures. It is decentralized. So if somebody is looking to get into India, that would be a good starting point. You get a lot of collaboration. Um, Fintech is a great space to get in and bring a lot of uh, thought processes and um, thinking mindsets from diverse countries. If I were to quote, Zoom car is a taxi for hire, self-drive cab service. Greg Moran, he is not Indian, so he started this few years ago. I absolutely love that service.
Taxi
Zest
for
Money,
hire?
yeah, it's a self-drive cab. Yeah, it's a self-drive and subscription service. So they were actually Zoom car. They were the first ones to actually start a subscription service. I mean, who made it popular? There could be others who started first. Uh, Being first is a tough claim. Like you never know, somebody in some corner would have been first, and you claim and then say, look, I had been first. See, look at this post from 2002. So, and then Zest Money. Lizzie Chapman, she is, I have read her post, I haven't met her, but I have seen her organization grow. I had interacted with the people from her organization a few years back when I was building a digital bank. Um, that organization has grown in leaps and bounds. And to think of it, their MVP was a website where you had to fill a form and say, I want this product from Amazon, give me a loan for this. That's all you had to do. You had to put a link of Amazon of that product, upload your docs, and then in a few days or maybe in a couple of hours, somebody would respond back. And now look at them; they are one of the largest, fintech marketplaces for small ticket purchases of mobile phones and other gadgets.
Jay, you did not disappoint, not at all. I have an entire notebook here filled with notes, and I didn't even. I was being conservative with how much I write because I know I was going to run out of space. So this is amazing, and I think this video here is one that's going to be timeless as well, something that anyone can refer back to. So I appreciate you coming on, taking time, and sharing such value with our community, and even accepting my invite and all that stuff. So thank you so much for that. Do you have anything that you what's anything that you want to share with us? Anything you want to plug before we get off here?
I would want to leave you and your viewers with some quick stat. Last week we have a funding tracker in Indian startup ecosystem. It might not be 100% accurate, but it said that funding has gone down below 100 million per week. So now imagine the news is not that of how much, but it is that of a benchmark which we have breached, saying, oh, we fell below 100 million per week. Just 3 weeks back, we did 250 million in 1 week of startup funding. How is that? And there was in India just few years back where all you would talk is poverty, all you would talk is problems. And I'm so happy to be in this state of the country, and of the general feeling of exuberance, of hope, that people are talking about solutions and building stuff rather than thinking about them and getting troubled by them. Thank you.
Thank you, Jay. Appreciate you joining us.